And without further ado, first things first, the Detroit train station. So while I was live streaming last night, I had tickets to go over into View and the concert and stuff like that. Went over at the Detroit train station. I'll probably get over there this weekend to take a tour and probably document it or vlog it. I don't really like to vlog that much, but the Detroit train station is now reopened, and it is a phenomenal thing. Eminem was there, Trick was there, Big Sean was there, Diana Ross, all of these people, Jack White, bunch of people was there at the Detroit train station reopening. Take a look at the redoing of the train station, which is a symbol of Detroit in its turnaround and comeback.
In the heart of Detroit, the once bustling Michigan Central train station sat abandoned for decades.
Look at how it used to look right there. Isn't that crazy? I remember I explored it one time, and then I also remember at one point that they had found a body that was frozen in there. It looked like somebody, I don't know if it was a homeless person or something like that, had been frozen into it, and they had to thaw the person out in order to get the body out of there. So tripped out how things change over a few years.
What is this building a symbol of in this city?
Well, in many ways, it's our Ellis Island because when this area was in its heyday, people were flooding to Detroit.
Then came years of decline. Bill Ford Jr. says Michigan Central symbolized that too. But now Detroit is changing again. The city announcing its first population increase in over 60 years. And later this week, following years of renovation, the Ford Motor Company reopens Michigan Central. The kickoff concert live streaming on NBC Universal's Peacock as Detroit celebrates a train station transformed into the heart of a mobility innovation campus.
How does that make good business sense for your company specifically?
Well, we're in a war for talent. It becomes, much easier. I think when we have a place like this, when you can say to people, and this is where you'll be working.
All of this as electric vehicle development supercharges Detroit's tech scene. The new campus already home to startups like all-electric ATV maker Livac. Founder David Medina Alvarez says other states offered better access to investors, but he chose Detroit.
What we don't have in budget or cash-wise, we're having it on surplus with the freedom.
And for Detroit native Tierra Fullilove, Michigan Central has meant training for a new career in EV charging.
What is it like to see a space like this in Motor City?
Hey, hold on, baby. I know you training for a new career over in EV charging, and I also know that I said no new friends. But we might have to contact her and get her over here on the black couch behind me in order to be able to have a conversation. You know what I'm saying? Man, I seen so many bad chicks that was out and about walking around yesterday. I said, Harpo, who is all of these conglomerate of bad chicks that's walking around out here in the city? I said, I don't know what's happening. It certainly wasn't no Meg Thee Stallion concert. Because when I seen the Meg Thee Stallion concert, it was a bunch of big backs. Gorilla, Magilla, Gorilla, Magilla, Gorilla. But I was looking at yesterday, I said, look at all of these beautiful professional women walking around in the city getting it up.
I think it's great. It's good for our community. It gives opportunities.
With hopes that Motor City can once again drive change. Jesse Kirsch, NBC News, Detroit.
So, again, the Michigan train station is now open for tours. I think that it's a symbol of the city, and it's awesome. It's absolutely awesome to see what's happening in the city and to see the transition and everything that was happening last night. In addition to that, a 17-year-old was shot over in Brooklyn at a prom party. Check it out.
All right, a shooting at a Brooklyn prom party leaves one teenager wounded.
Police are now looking for two suspects this morning. Good Day's Briella Tomasetti. She joins us from out that scene in East Flatbush, Brooklyn with the latest. And Briella, this is causing concern after we've seen a recent spat of violence involving teens in recent weeks.
Yeah, it absolutely is, Tashani and Dan. Good morning to both of you. And, people who live in this building claim that there have actually been repeated acts of violence here. Let
me stop there for a second. You see all of this in the background. You see that multicolored car. I think that's a Nissan, old school Nissan Maxima, if I'm not mistaken. And then you see all of that trash in the background over there in New York and Brooklyn. That's why there's so many rats in that city. And I'm not talking about people that's telling on other people. There's so many rats in that city. overnight, I don't know if any of y'all have ever visited New York before, but overnight, all of the restaurant owners and all of this stuff, they throw their trash out or they set their trash out on the sidewalk. It seems like, and I'm not one to try to solve for all of the city's problems and stuff like that, but it would seem like they would have come up with an innovative way to collect the trash and sanitation while at the same time preventing rats and rodents and for it to be so dirty. But this is actually normal over in New York. I hate it. Absolutely hate it. Rats, rodents is one of the dirtiest places on earth. New York is a great place to visit. It's a great place to stay. But I want to live there. I remember I was watching a video and it was Madonna and she was like doing something. She had a tour or something that she was giving inside of her house. And then there was a rat running by it. And I looked at the comments and people was like, oh, that's just normal in New York. No. We're not just going to normalize rats running around. And one of the reasons is that it's so dirty and everybody just throw their trash out on the sidewalk every single day, which is a stark difference. Like, why they not studying what's going on over in Tokyo? Tokyo is much bigger than what it is that they got going over in New York. And they're able to keep every peak. They don't even have trash cans in Tokyo and everything is clean. Anyways, let me not get distracted.
Recently, over the past few years, police indicated that the two suspects wanted in connection with this shooting were wearing surgical masks to cover their faces, which could, as you imagine, make their search even more difficult. Police are investigating a shooting at a luxury Brooklyn high-rise that left a 17-year-old boy injured. Investigators say it unfolded at 8:40 last night on Linden Boulevard between Bedford and Rogers Avenues. The circumstances behind the shooting are still unclear, but the New York Post reports that it happened at a prom party inside the 26-story PLG residential tower. The victim was shot in the torso and rushed to Kings County Hospital, where he's now in stable condition.
We've had far too
Heck of a prom party.
Cops from the NYPD's 67th Precinct, community affairs officers, and detectives rushed to the scene afterwards. Police say they haven't made any arrests, but are looking for two men, one wearing all black with a blue surgical mask and another wearing a gray jumpsuit and a blue surgical mask. They allegedly ran off westbound on Linden Boulevard toward Bedford Avenue.
To live in a building where there's now...
That's why I don't rent out my spot, bro, because I don't need it to be a crime scene or for people to tear up my stuff or people to be sleeping in my bed. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got time for this.
A shooting. I don't know who got shot, but I know people were taken away in ambulances.
It all comes amid a surge of violence targeting the city's youths. A barrage of gunfire left two cousins, just 9 and 11 years old, injured Monday night on a playground in Brownsville. Police don't believe the young girls were the intended targets and are still trying to track down two shooters. Also this week, a 12-year-old boy was arrested in connection with the shooting death of his 14-year-old cousin. He was charged with manslaughter, criminally negligent homicide, and criminal possession of a weapon after allegedly opening fire inside a Brooklyn apartment on Sunday. This building is managed by the Moynihan Group, one of the biggest developers in the city. We reached out to them on their website for a comment, for some sort of statement in response to the shooting, but have yet to hear back.
So that's what's happening over there in Brooklyn. And then last but not least, Bun B and his wife testify at the sentencing of a man that was accused of a home invasion or that did a home invasion in Bun B's house. Check it out.
Houston rap legend Bun B and his wife Queenie giving emotional testimony in court today. The couple described a home invasion that happened back in 2019.
Yeah, this story made big headlines back then, and you may remember that's when the rapper ended up shooting the armed robber. Now that man is set to be sentenced for his crime. Sherman Chow joins us from the courthouse with what's next in this case and some interesting stuff in the courtroom today. Sherman.
Oh, yes, indeed. Yeah, actually, court resumes tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. It has been a very emotional and tense day here in the 209th. Rapper Bun B, whose legal name is Bernard Freeman, and his wife Chevalier both testified about that 2019 attack at their Houston home. 25-year-old DeMonte Alief Jackson has pled guilty to aggravated robbery and burglary with intent to commit another offense. Well, Jackson's parents testified on his behalf, saying that he has an IQ of 81 and mental health issues. The Freemans say that Jackson forced his way into their home, put a gun to Mrs. Freeman's head to rob them and steal their car. Bun B, who was upstairs, grabbed a gun, came downstairs, opened fire on Jackson, who by then was behind the wheel of a car in the family garage.
I like to shooting back at me, and I proceeded to unload my weapon. Well, I wasn't sure if I unloaded my weapon, and then he fell out of the car, he threw his gun down. I started fighting with him. My wife came through the garage door. She started screaming. Tell.
Dad, you ain't gotta ask. No! Hang on, man. Everybody go.
After that outburst, there was a brief recess and court resumed. Jackson's father said his son was a standout high school football player who, quote, had everything, including 2 cars and a moped.
And he had a mask on, running up in people's houses and putting guns to the wives' heads and threatening to do stuff. Listen. A mental IQ, come on, bro. Hey, man, he was on the football team. The dude was in my crib with a gun to my wife's head.
But not disciplined because he wanted to be a friend, not a father. Jackson was wounded in that shootout and then fled to a hospital where he was then later arrested. 2 more defense witnesses are scheduled to testify tomorrow morning, after which the judge will issue a sentence.
Throw him under the jail. Throw away the key. Listen, man, you can't be running up in people's cribs and thinking that it's cool. That is never, ever going to be acceptable. And it's never going to be a thing for y'all to be able to do whatever it is that y'all doing. And we're going to run it up. All right? So anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that is your Quick Hits.